Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on Power Automate. Today, we're going to be diving into a tool that's revolutionizing the way we work, making our daily tasks more efficient, and enabling us to focus on what matters most. My name is Drew Tattam, and I'm the Training and Development Specialist here at Knack Training. I have a master's degree in curriculum design and instruction from Grand Canyon University and a bachelor's degree in elementary and special education from Arizona State. I have a passion for training and love for all things outdoors and sports, but my passion lies in combining my expertise from teaching and corporate training to create engaging learning experiences. My colleague Denise is on here as our producer, so she'll collect your questions throughout the webinar and we'll present them at the end in our Q&A session. So I encourage you to ask questions in the chat as we go along, and we will get to them at the end. I want to start our webinar here with a quick poll question. Just have you ever used Power Automate before? I want to kind of gauge our skill levels so I can make sure that I'm presenting to you in the way that works best. They'll give it another little moment here. It looks like most of us have never used Power Automate before, which really excites me because I get to show you a new tool, and hopefully you'll leave this webinar with some things that you can take back to your company. So Power Automate is a powerful and versatile platform that allows you to automate repetitive, time-consuming tasks and streamline your work processes. It's like having a virtual assistant at your fingertips, managing and orchestrating tasks on your behalf. My fun little way of making sure that Power Automate feels like a part of my team is sometimes I would name it, Frank did a really good job on my team today. He really held up his own. So let's discuss a couple reasons why Power Automate is so significant in today's modern workplace. The first would be efficiency and time savings. So today, our corporate environment is really fast paced. We often find ourselves drowning in a sea of routine tasks. I know I definitely did. And that's how I found Power Automate. It empowers you to automate these tasks, saving you valuable time that you can reinvest in more strategic activities. So whether it's data entry or email notifications, approval workflows, Power Automate can handle all of that. Next is integration and collaboration. So Power Automate seamlessly integrates with a wide range of Microsoft 365 apps and third-party services, which enables you to connect and automate your digital workspace a little better. So it means better collaboration for your team, better collaboration for your company, smoother flow of data, more streamlined communication across the board. Next would be reducing errors and enhancing accuracy. So manual tasks are prone to human errors. I know I've made my fair share of errors, but by automating these tasks, you minimize the risk of those mistakes, and it ensures accuracy across your data and consistency across notifications and emails, things like that. Next would be adaptability and scalability. So as your business grows, your processes probably evolve. As your team grows, your processes do the same. So Power Automate's adaptable, it's editable, it can scale with your organization. You can always start now with simple automations and then gradually build to more complex workflows as needed. Next would be empowering non-developers. I'm not a developer. I did not go to school to be one, but Power Automate really helps us feel like we have more control in that sense. So it's designed to be user-friendly. It makes automation accessible to people without a coding background. This democratization of automation puts the power of innovation and efficiency really into your hands and into the hands of everyone in your organization. And then lastly would be cost savings. So by automating these tasks and improving your team and organization processes, you can reduce operational costs. So Power Automate helps put your organization into more efficiency, achieve better return on your investment because you're focusing on less administrative tasks. So today we're going to explore the ins and outs of Power Automate, from the basics to advanced techniques, so you can harness its full potential. So whether you're an IT professional, just a normal business user or decision maker, Power Automate really has something to offer you. So we are first going to start with looking at our objectives. So we have 3 objectives for today's webinar during our 60 minutes together. First, we're going to learn what Power Automate is and why it's important for making your work easier. The second, we're going to build your first automation. We're going to be saving email attachments to OneDrive without any coding skills necessary. And then we're going to discover how to make complex workflows with kind of fancy tricks like if-then logic and loops. So if we're trying to understand like what the heck even is Power Automate? So imagine having a personal assistant for your digital tasks, and that's Power Automate. So it's a powerful tool that automates repetitive, time-consuming jobs, from sending emails to managing your data. You set the rules and it works around the clock, boosting your efficiency and letting you focus on what matters most. Whether you're in IT, sales, any field, it can really streamline your work and save you time and make your life easier. That is one of the huge benefits of Power Automate I see, is that like working around the clock. I don't know about you, but I do not want to work around the clock. So Power Automate can kind of be my assistant and do that for me. So Power Automate is really an umbrella for a few different things. So Microsoft began its journey into workflow automation by introducing SharePoint workflows, which allowed users to create basic automations within the SharePoint environment. So these workflows were fundamental within SharePoint sites, enabling users to automate tasks, notifications, and approvals. SharePoint workflows primarily focused on automations within the SharePoint ecosystem, but it really laid the groundwork for the evolution of all of our Microsoft automation tools we have today. The foundation of this Microsoft SharePoint workflows expanded into what it eventually became Microsoft Flow in 2016, which offered more versatile, cloud-based, cross-application automations beyond SharePoint, which connected various Microsoft services and third-party applications. And then ultimately that culminated in the capabilities we see today within Power Automate. Power Automate Desktop, in that middle section of our graphic, evolved as a significant addition to Microsoft's automation suite. Built upon the framework of Win Automation, which is acquired in 2020. This tool streamlines repetitive Windows-based tasks, so it offers more user-friendly visual approach that doesn't, again, require any extensive coding skills. Moving into that third category on the right, the business processes. Process mining was acquired through Process Gold and provides invaluable insights into process optimization by harnessing AI analysis. So it allows you to gain a comprehensive view of workflow operations and allows you to have that data-driven refinements and make informed decisions. Both these tools exemplify Microsoft's commitment to providing a kind of comprehensive automation ecosystem, which caters to both desktop-level automation and process enhancement and insightful data analytics. Today, we are just going to be focusing on that far left section, that Power Automate Cloud. But just know that these other things do kind of exist under the umbrella of Power Automate. Next, we're going to look at some licensing and pricing considerations. I know that's always kind of on the forefront of our mind in the business sense. So Power Automate is included in the Microsoft 365 subscription. There's about 500 different connectors. I could spend the next 50 minutes just telling you all 500 of them, but there are some that cost additional money and then some that are free. So we'll look at a few of those today and play with some of those. Next are our key features and benefits. So the first would be the variety of automations, right? Power Automate allows you to automate a variety of tasks and processes, such as creating automated approval workflows. We'll look at one of those today. Sending email notifications, we will also be building one of those today, and then updating data across different applications. Next would be the seamless integration of Power Automate. So it integrates with all Microsoft 365 apps, SharePoint, Outlook, Teams, Excel, and enables you to create automated workflows that connect and synchronize the data between these tools. And then next would be the no-code approach. So Power Automate's designed for both non-developers and experienced developers. I know Microsoft really has a love for their developers, but this program really allows you as a non-developer to join in. You can create powerful automations without using coding. You can use low-code features if you want to build more complex workflows. I have gained some basic coding skills just from using Power Automate. And lastly would be those third-party connectors. Power Automate really offers an extensive library of third-party connectors that allow you to connect with various services and applications. This flexibility enables you to automate processes across different platforms and services. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at how to access Power Automate. So since we're just covering the web app today, we will only look at that, but know that you can create automations from the desktop, from a cell phone application also. So I'm going to put in the chat how the heck you even find this website. You can go to make.powerautomate.com. You can also copy and paste what's in the chat, and you should arrive at this same web page we're looking at now. So first, because this is just the web application, it's accessible anywhere with any computer. You can log into your Microsoft account, which is really beneficial. I don't need to have this on my desktop or on a certain computer, which really allows for a lot of customization here. Looking at the user interface here, first, I want to point out you may not see all of the things that I'm seeing or pointing out, and that's really okay. Your IT department has capability to turn off certain parts of Power Automate. So if you don't see anything that we're doing, it's okay. Just look, follow along. Yeah. So first is this home page here on the left. This is where that link will automatically take you to. You'll see this nice graphic at the top here that'll say, let's automate something. What should we do? And it will kind of show you the building blocks of automation. I think this is a really great graphic to understand what's even happening. So first would be the trigger. So this event starts your automation. Now, automation and flow and workflow are kind of all used synonymously throughout Power Automate in this presentation. So anytime you see that word flow, it just means the automation. So if you want your automation to start when you click a button or when you add a row to Excel or any of those things, that's going to be your trigger. Then your actions are what you want Power Automate to do. Do you want it to send an email? Do you want it to create a planner notification? Do you want it to create a task? All of these things are going to be our actions. And then flow is, the end state where our tasks are completed automatically around the clock. We're not clicking any buttons, so to speak. Then this box right underneath is the new AI generated automation. You can describe what you'd like it to build if you don't know where to start, and AI Copilot will kind of build you something from there, and then you can make any edits as necessary. On the left-hand section, we can go down to the templates. If you're not comfortable just like building something right off the bat, that's okay. There are hundreds of templates in here that you can see what to do and what might be useful for you. So If I know I want to save my Gmail attachments to a Dropbox folder, that's something that uses those third-party connectors that may be helpful for you. There's kind of tabs up here where you can look through. If I know I want to do maybe an email automation, I can scroll through and look at these. Some of these are really fun to look through, but that may just be my definition of fun. There are two different search bars. If you are searching for a template, you want to make sure that you're down here in this search bar, and we'll look at that a little later. Then if you go into My Flows, if you've built some flows before, you may have some things listed here. If Power Automate is completely new to you, then you may not have anything here, and that's okay. First, we can see that they're ordered by the time and date that they were modified. So Power Automate doesn't allow for any folder creation or anything like that. So you want to make sure that you're, titling things properly, what you're looking at, because it won't kind of group it in any specific way. There's a search bar up here in the top right-hand corner. It's a little difficult to find. But if you click on this, you can search for your automations. So if you know you had an automation with the word PDF in the name, I can search PDF and I can see that I have my automation here. Now, once I click into an automation, let's see which one would I like to show. So if I click into an automation here, I can see some more details about that automation before I go into any sort of editing or sharing or anything like that. Up here, we have our taskbar at the very top. There are lots of different, buttons we can choose. The most popular or the most used, is going to be the edit function. I want to change this flow. I'd click the edit button. Share, save as, delete, send a copy, those I hope are pretty self-explanatory. And then there are some other ones up here that we'll look at later. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see that the connections box, this will show you what this specific automation is connected to. So this is looking at Drew Tattam Planner, the same with Teams. It's looking at Office 365 users that are saved within my contacts. Then if I go down, I can see the owners. The owners are going to tell me who has editing access for this automation. So right now it's just me. If I wanted to add somebody from my organization, I could click that edit button. And then I could add more users who are owners here. Now, there are ways to allow people to run certain flows without having any editing access. That is found in a different section. Then we go into previous runs and tests down here in this run history. Now, it's important to notice that this is only visible for 28 days. So if you have something that's been running for a really long time and you want to look at what happened maybe a year ago, even 2 months ago, that's definitely not possible. So you want to make sure that you're checking this frequently. I can see here that some things have failed and it looks like I made some changes because it's now running okay. But if you ever see that red box, you probably want to make sure you go in and check to make sure everything's running fine, because Power Automate is saying it is not running fine. So first I want to show you what's possible and what Power Automate is capable of. Don't worry about the inner workings of Power Automate right now. We'll get into the application and build an automation in a little bit, but right now I just want to show you, what is possible. Okay, so we will look at our first common task. So every Monday at 8 a.m., we're going to have Power Automate. We're going to have it list all our tasks in the marketing project plan that are not marked complete. And then we're going to have it send an email to the marketing manager listing all the outstanding tasks and their due dates. Now, it's not Monday, so I will show you Mondays and then I will walk you through getting some different views. So here is our marketing team planner. We see here that there are a bunch of tasks. I can see that some have not been completed yet. If I go into my email, I can see here on Monday morning an email was sent. Now this looks like it's from me, but this was from Power Automate. So it says happy Monday. It kind of gives some text here that I've put in, about the marketing project plan, and then it lists all the tasks and the due dates. So as a manager, this would be really useful to kind of keep an eye on tasks for your entire team, what hasn't been completed yet. You could use this in stand-up meetings to make sure you have an accurate picture of what people should be working on that week and what hasn't been completed already. Now, if I come into here and let's say since Monday, it's now Thursday. Since Monday, these 2 tasks have been completed and maybe that one's been completed, okay? So as the manager, I want that email again to show me what people have done without going into the planner, without, fussing around with any of the extra checklists. I can see here that I have an automation titled Every Monday Report of Existing Tasks. Now there's this play button right here that will allow me to run the flow again. So let's say that it's now Thursday, I want an update. I click Run Flow. Okay, it looks like it's started. If we click into this, we can see that, it doesn't even have a time frame. It's so soon, and in 1 second, it succeeded. Okay, so I can open my email here, and I can see that Thursday at 2:25 p.m., it will still have the same text here. That's okay, but you can see that there are less tasks now than there were before. So this was our Monday morning one, and this was our one now with less tasks. All right, our second flow that we're going to get into is going to be when a new task is created in that marketing team planner. Now, Planner is really awesome for project management, assigning tasks to your team, but it doesn't always notify everybody when something's been assigned to you. It may not be clear on due dates until you get that reminder in your email like 3 days before that's like in bold red, I have things due, and then people start freaking out. So we're going to use Power Automate. When a new task is created in the marketing team planner, it's going to get all of the information of that task and all of the tags, and then it's going to post a Teams message to our marketing channel with all of the details. So let's go back here. We're going to click into our marketing department, and let's say that we have in the monitoring and controlling, I want to check on social media posts and collect like data from who interacted. That makes no sense. Interaction data. Okay. Let's say as the manager, I want the due date to be next Friday. I want to give my team enough time to work on it. And then I'm going to assign this task to somebody. Now, on things like this, sometimes Power Automate, like we saw before on the immediate run, can run really quickly. When you tell it something is happening right now and you want it to run right now, Power Automate's pretty quick. Now, on something like this, when I click Add Task, this looks added here, but Power Automate's going to take a moment to look at that task and do what you want it to. So let's kind of look back into Power Automate. And if I go into my flows, I see I have one called Post Teams Message when new task is created. And I can see that my last run is 3 days ago. So this hasn't noticed that I've created a new task yet, and that's okay. There's a refresh button up here where you can refresh those flow runs and see If you want to be the crazy refresher, you could sit here and refresh all day. And I'm going to show you under the hood a little bit of what this looks like. Because this is a different trigger, so the first one I showed you is a scheduled trigger. So every Monday at a certain time, it does a thing. Now this is triggered when a new task is created. So this looks a little bit differently. Now, if you go into edit, it's going to show you this new Copilot editor where you can edit with AI. I'm going to show you just with the classic designer what this looks like. This is a few short, simple steps. So when a new task is created in this planner, it's going to get the user profile of who created the task. And then for every task, it's going to get the @ of the person who's assigned the task, and then it will post this message. Okay, so this is a pretty simple one, but it does have one of our, quote unquote, fancy tricks. This apply to each is called a loop, where for everything that's assigned, so every task, it's just going to loop until all of the new tasks it's worked through. If we click that back button, we can see that 26 seconds ago, our flow ran. So let's go into our teams here. And if I go into my team and my marketing department, which is a little slow to load, I'm in my marketing department, I go to project plan updates. I can see that at 2:29 p.m., there was a task created. It's titled Check on Social Media Posts and Collect Interaction Data. The due date is next Friday, the 24th, which would just be mean because I hope everyone has that day off. I can see that it's created by me, and then I can see who it's assigned to, which is also me. Now here, this, third step in our flow was to get the @ mention. You can see the first created by is just text. This next text is clickable, and that's actually a tag for somebody. So anyone in this project plan updates team that it tags, it will send them a notification right away. Okay, now we're going to go into our third and final, demo before we start building of automating common tasks. So this one looks a little bit different. We can see that we've added some, fancy actions here. We kind of branch off into two different ways. So when a file is added to the marketing SOP folder, it's going to send an approval card to the marketing manager on Teams. The marketing manager is then going to need to approve or deny the request. Green shows what happens if the request is approved. It's going to inform the individual who added the file of the approval, and it will keep the file in the folder. If the marketing manager, if we go on to this red side where they've denied the request, it's going to also inform the individual of the denial and then delete that file in the folder. Okay, so this could be useful where team SOPs, they don't change a lot. You don't want everyone to just be dragging and dropping random things in there. But you can see, someone has control over saying, yep, this file should be in here, or no, this file should not. So if I go into marketing department SharePoint, I can see that I have my team SOPs folder, and I can see that I have a handful of SOPs here. This was added by the marketing manager. These are our team SOPs for social media management, SEO and keyword research, all the fun things. So let's say I have my file here, and I think that I want to add this maximizing productivity with Power Automate PDF. Okay, so I drag and drop this into my folder. It's going to upload the item. And you can see here that the item does exist in the folder. Somebody has added the item, okay? Now we're going to go into our flows, and we're gonna take a look at what this one looks like. So I have one titled Marketing SOP File Approval. We click into this. Again, I can see that it hasn't run for a few days. So It'll take a moment, and that's okay. I can refresh and I can still see that it hasn't started. And again, that's fine. If I go into edit, we'll show kind of that fancy action here in our classic designer. We'll see where this branches off here. And now mine has 2 branches because I wanted to make this double fancy, apparently. But we can look at when a file is created in this folder, it will get all of the file information that's drag and dropped in there. It will get the profile information of the person, and then it will create this approval button, okay, that once this runs, I'll be able to show you. So it's going to have, the folder link and the file link, and then it will allow the manager to say, yes, I want this file to exist, or no, I don't. If this file, if this fails, is where I send an email to the person who created this flow, which is me. That's the double fancy. But then we kind of get to posting the card in the channel. We're waiting for an approval. So if your manager doesn't check Teams for a few hours, your automation will just sit here until that happens. Now, the only way that this breaks is if your manager or the marketing manager doesn't respond within that 28 days, then your automation will fail. I hope people are checking their Teams more often than 28 days out. But then we have, some things happen if it was approved, and then some things happen if it wasn't approved. Okay, so if we go back into this flow, we can see that it started 1 minute ago, but it's still running. Now, remember that section, that action that said wait for a response? This is just going to sit here running until we respond to that. So here in our Teams, if I go back to my chat, I can see that Flow has sent me something. Now I'm acting as the marketing manager and the person submitting the file. This would still be true in your automation if you were adding something as the manager yourself to this folder. So this doesn't let you pick and choose, unless you get really fancy with the automation, who's going, like if it ignores when somebody adds to the folder. So I can see that requested by Drew, at this time, this document was added to the folder. It will tell you what folder it's added to. Again, it will tell me time and who it was created by again. Now, as the manager, if you're kind of confused about like what this file even is, you're not expecting something to be added, I can scroll into here and I can look at the file as the manager and I can say, this doesn't really look like a team SOP. So maybe I'm going to reject this request. So if I go into here and I click reject, and I can enter the comment, this doesn't look like a marketing SOP. I click submit, and it's going to take a moment here to decide what it wants to do, and it says my response was sent to the app. Now, since I'm the person adding the file and checking to make sure if the file should be added, I will also get the automation message where it was approved or declined. So this message is not always going to be seen by that marketing manager. This would go to the person who submitted the file. So it will say the marketing manager's name did not approve of you adding this file, and it will show them any comments that the manager put. So this doesn't really look like a marketing SOP, not approved. Okay. If we go back into our marketing department SOP folder, I can see that this file still looks like it exists. But if I refresh and I go into that folder again, I can see that the file has been deleted. It doesn't exist in this file any longer. Okay, so now that I have shown you some different ways to use Power Automate, we're going to get into actually building our own. So here, we're going to look at some of the components of a cloud flow. Okay, so this is similar to that, home screen visual that's on Power Automate, but the first is connections. So our logins to services that need to be used in the automation. So it's going to show us everything that's connected. We need to make sure that we're signed in to what we want to be using. If I want to use a Gmail account to send an email, I need to make sure that in that connections, it says that I'm connected to my Gmail account. The second is the triggers. So this is what causes our automation to start. There are 3 different types of triggers, and then it branches down further into those 3. So I showed you a scheduled cloud flow. That would be you choose when and how often it runs. If I wanted that email to send every day at 8 a.m., I could also do that. Instant cloud flow is going to be triggered manually. I gave you kind of a preview of how that worked when I redid the scheduled cloud flow by just clicking that play button. I will show you that one a little later. And then the third one is the automated cloud flow. So that's triggered by a designated event. So that would be those last 2 demos I showed you, where it's triggered by adding a folder or a file to a folder, or triggered by adding a task in Microsoft Planner. So lastly, what you need is actions, like what you even want it to do. So in this little screenshot, we have that it's creating a file. Okay, I showed you what some of those actions looked like when we kind of peeked under the hood of the existing demo ones. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to Power Automate, and I'm going to go back to templates. So we're going to build one together. I encourage you to try to follow along. If you want to leave this space in this webinar with your own automation created already, or if things maybe don't look the same for you, maybe you just follow along visually. So I'm going to run a search for the template that I want to use. Okay, so in here where I click search templates, make sure that you're not using this top search bar. That's going to be something different. So in this search templates, I am going to search for save Outlook email. Oh. Now, this first one that comes up here may look like what you want to click on. It's not. So let me show you kind of the differences here. What we're actually looking for is this one on this side. How these 2 differ is one says Outlook.com and one says Outlook or Office 365. Okay, so if you are a business or school user, you're going to want to use this Office 365. Another way that I can tell that this is the one I want to use is it says OneDrive for Business. And that is what I want to save my attachments to. If you're just using a personal account and not a business or a school account, then you would follow along with this one. However, I'm going to click into this one. If you're worried about clicking the wrong one, you can always go into and copy and paste what I just sent. And actually, I'm not sure I sent that to the right spot. Okay, so you can copy and paste this Save Office 365 email, and you should be able to find this one pretty easily. Okay, it will show me right here that this flow is connected to my Outlook and my OneDrive. This is my business one. This all looks good. The check mark means, yep, we're good to go. We're good to start building. Now, if I went into the other one, it would tell me, whoa, we don't have this account signed in. This account doesn't exist. It may freak you out a little bit. It's always, if that happens, you may just want to like take a step back, and instead of being like, I can't build an automation, you might just be in the wrong template. Once I click continue, again, it's going to show me this automation in the new AI editor. I am going to show you how to do this in the classic designer. So if in the ellipses in the top right-hand corner, you click switch to classic designer, you should then be able to see this like this. Now, this may overwhelm me if I have all of these boxes open at once, okay? So if I'm brand new to Power Automate, this might freak me out a little bit. So you can always click on an action box and it will make, everything look a lot cleaner, a lot smaller, and you'll see that if you collapse that condition, it takes away everything from the bottom completely. So we can just focus on this on new email. Now, I want this to look at my inbox folder just generally. But if you're wanting to save all attachments from a specific folder on your on your email, then you would want to click this folder button and you would want to select which file you're looking for or folder you're looking for on your email. If I click into inbox, you can see that I only have the inbox. If I click into this show advanced options, it will allow me to customize this trigger a little more. So I can see that there's a to column. Okay, so every time I send an email to a specific person, I want to save the attachment. If you wanted to do that, instead of the inbox, you would need to change this to sent items. I'm not going to do that today. If you wanted to do just from, say it's just from the CEO, every time the CEO of your organization sends a file, I want Power Automate to always save it somewhere specific. Okay, that's where you would detail specifically who you're looking for. Okay, so I could start typing in, my CEO's name, my producer's name, if I always want to, save their attachments. This only lets me click specific people that are from. So I'm going to delete this again. And I'm going to hide our advanced options. If I click into this condition, this kind of fancier, more complicated step or action, I can see that a condition is just an if this happens, then I want something else to happen. Okay. So this is where I could customize if I wanted to save all attachments from people who are within my organization into one folder and people who are not in my organization in another folder. This is where I would specify that. So if the email comes from somebody with knacktraining.com, okay, all you have to do is type in here. You can leave this button and you can leave this button alone. Then I'm going to start creating things. So if yes, I'm going to leave the if no for now, just so it doesn't overwhelm us. If I click into this, I can see that if an email comes from somebody with knacktraining.com, then it's going to create a file for every attachment. Okay, this is again that loop. For every attachment, it's going to create a file. So it looks like the file name and the file content are all put in there for us with the template. That's why I love using templates. If I go into the folder path and I select in to show the contents, I can see all of my different folders that are in my OneDrive. So I'm going to click into Power Automate Webinar and I'm going to say internal. Anything that comes from Knack Training, that's going in my internal folder. Now this side is all good. If I click into my if no, I can see that I need to update my folder path again, but it looks really similar to the other side. All I want to do is put it in a different folder. So I'm going to click into my OneDrive here, and I'm going to click into my webinar folder, and I'm going to say, if this file or if this sender isn't in knacktraining.com, I want it to go to the external folder. Now I'm going to click the save button here. If you've ever lost a file or like a paper, You'll know how important the save button is. Windows and Microsoft have added the auto save feature into, Word and Excel, which is really nice, but Power Automate does not have that. So if you don't click save, nothing will happen. Power Automate will give you a preview here of if it thinks there's any potential issues, or if it thinks, yeah, we look good, we should go. So right now I have the green check mark. If I tried to save this with something missing, then it would tell me, no, I can't save this. Something is wrong here. Now up here is going to be the name of my automation. Now I showed you searching for the word PDF in the automation folder. So we want to make sure here that our name makes sense. So I'm just going to say this is my webinar save email automation. Now, this looks the same as everything before, but if I don't click save, my name will not save. So you'll want to make sure that you save again. Okay, so now here, the templates will change the name of these little buttons, these triggers for you. And this is really helpful because if you go back into edit and you don't know what these mean, then it's going to be really hard to make any changes. So if I wanted to be more specific, so instead of on a new email, I can click the 3 dots and I can click rename. So I can say new email in inbox. So now I know more specifically when I go into edit this flow, I know that when a new email comes into this specific folder, that's what I'm looking at here. Okay, again, you will need to click the save button to make sure that everything is saved as you would like it to. So now I'm going to show you how this works. So if I click into here and I show you my Gmail, so this is going to be my internal message. So if I send the email, and this is just a test, and I'd like to, let's attach that same document here. I've attached this document, maximizing your productivity, with my internal email. So I click send here. Now, while this is working, Power Automate on the back end, I'm going to show you what using an external email would look like. So if I go into here, oh, don't want that. So if I go into here, I can see that I've signed into mirashah@baldwinprice.com. Okay, so Mira is an outside person. She is not from knacktraining.com. So we are also going to send an email here, and I will pop this out so it's a little larger. So I'm going to send my email to drew.tattam@knack.training. And I don't need to CC anybody. This is also a test. And then I'm going to attach my file. So because I want to show you the different files, let's go this working file for our external person. So let's say, oops, I attached this the wrong way. Do not want to do that. I want to attach this as a file. Okay, and then I'm going to send my email again as Mira. And then we're going to look and see if some things have happened so far. So it looks like my first email has gone through. Okay, so that would have been our internal email that we started first. So let's look at what has happened. So if I go into here and I go into my Power Automate webinar, and then I go to internal, I can see that this maximizing productivity with Power Automate file is already in the folder. I haven't read my email. I haven't looked at my email. It just did its thing in the background. It said, I know you want this file in the internal folder. I'm going to put it there. So then if I refresh, I can see that my external one hasn't really started yet, and that's okay. we'll give that just a moment. Now, while we're waiting for that, I kind of want to pause and take some time to show you. Now that we've seen some use cases for Power Automate, we've created a flow successfully. If you're interested in partnering with us, please send an email to the contact in the screen. I will also send that in the chat. We have much larger and longer classes that will go more into depth. You'll leave with more information, more automations already built. You can email delete@knacktraining.com. Our training team really works with your company to deliver training that empowers your teams to streamline their workflows and utilize all the Microsoft software in a more efficient and productive way. So it's not just about learning the software, it's about making you more effective, agile, competitive, and it's really tailored to you. Let's go back to our automation and we can see that 23 seconds ago, we had something run. So if I go into here, I can see Mira has emailed me. I can see that she has an exterior or an outside email. It is not that Knack Training, and she's also sent me a file. So let's see in here. We go back to our webinar and we click into the external. I can see that this folder or this file was added to my folder just a few minutes ago. Okay. Very cool, very useful, and as you hopefully saw, easy to set up. Okay. If you don't want to keep this automation running after you leave this session, there's one important button I want to show you. It's this turn off button. So this automation will just run forever and ever if you let it. Okay. So maybe you set up with some test folders and you didn't have it kind of dialed in with what you actually want to save your email attachments to. Just click that turn off button. And then it will see, you'll get this kind of error message. Ooh, there's a potential problem. Okay. If I go to the flow tracker, it will just tell me it's off. It's not going to work. Okay. So if you don't want to leave this on after you leave today, that's a really important button to know. If you want to keep it on and you like it, you can just leave it as is. So I told you that I could show you all 500 connectors and we could talk about them the whole time, but I did not do that. I won't bore you to tears. So here's about, a handful of connectors that work with Power Automate. So on the standard side on our left, we have Microsoft products, Power BI, Teams, Excel, Forms, and then we have non-Microsoft products. We have YouTube, we have WordPress, Dropbox, Google Calendar. A lot of the Google Suite is on there as the standard. Now, premium just means that you either need to have an extra subscription to the actual product or something extra in Power Automate. So things like Calendly, Jira, Adobe, GoToMeeting, DocuSign, Monday, Eventbrite, Salesforce, those are all premium connectors that Power Automate can still make automations for. You just need to have the program. You can't use it for free. I want to launch kind of our last question here and just ask, is anyone using any of these programs currently? What does that look like for us? All of these answers will really help us dial in what we want to continue our Power Automate series with. If everyone in here is using Jira, we want to make sure that we're telling you how to connect Power Automate with Jira. So thank you for answering. Looks like we're all using Teams, and then we have a few external Power BI, Calendly, things like that. Awesome. All right, now let's get into those questions. I would love to hear your questions. I know a couple of us had raised hands. Denise, were there any questions?
Yeah, I have just a few. If somebody wants to add them to the Q&A part, I can read those out after we do these. One is from someone named Valerie. She says, I'm in HR, and what are some typical automations that would be useful for my role?
Yeah. So a few come to mind right off the bat. I didn't work specifically in HR in the corporate, world, but I was in training, which is usually linked to the HR team. So you can request information from employees before their first day using email. You can create Microsoft To-Do reminders for yourself to set up their desk or their workspace. You can create Outlook invites or Teams invites for the manager to show the employee around the office or to virtually introduce themselves. You can create a personnel file with their name and all relevant documentation without having to set up that information yourself. You can add their information to an Excel doc with payroll information, things like that.
Great. And we also have a really important question. I think it says, if someone leaves our company and has created the automations, what happens to them?
Yeah, excellent question. It's really important. And it brings to mind something I said early in our best practices of how important it is to check our workflows, to plan them. Many of us just kind of open software and start clicking and, I told you to do that today. So, it happens. But then we can get ourselves into situations where, things aren't exactly following our IT protocols or something like that. So it's critical that you think through how ownership should work for the flows in the same way you would think through the logic of like, if this happens, then I want this to happen. So consider what you're doing in Power Automate. Each of us is able to log into Power Automate with our own account. The automations use our personal accounts and can really belong to the individual. So they can be like specific to your daily workflow, or they can interact with systems like SharePoint and Teams where it really affects outside people besides yourself and the business. So if you create a workflow that you want someone else to take over, you should allow someone else on the team to be an owner of that flow. Or some of our clients choose to create workflows through a master IT account. So not a specific individual. So that way they can give access to the master account to anyone who needs it. They can control all of the flows, but they're ultimately managing the flow as the workforce changes.
Great. That is all we have right now, but I know that you've set it up where if they have any more, they can reach out to us.
Yeah. Lastly, I just want to show you that we do have some public Microsoft training classes coming up very, very soon. This says November 16th, but that has been moved. So we can put the details in the chat. We have 2 Excel classes and 2 PowerPoint classes coming up really, really soon. If you'd like to register for those, you can go to knack.tips/register. I will also put that in the chat. And then lastly, if you need or have any follow-up questions, you can go to help@knacktraining.com and you can email them and we will answer any of your questions. Our last flow is going to be our Sending the Best Practices handout. So if you registered for this Power Automate webinar, you will be getting that email shortly. Thank you, everyone.